You walk in the door, and you already know. The cushion is shredded, there is stuffing across the whole floor, and your dog is in the corner, head low, ears flattened, tail tucked, refusing to meet your eyes. The picture could not be clearer. It knows what it did. It feels terrible about it. That, right there, is the guilty look. And almost every dog owner on Earth reads it the same way, as a small, furry confession. But when scientists actually put that look under a microscope, they found something that is going to make you rethink every guilty face your dog has ever made, because that look has almost nothing to do with the crime. And what it is really about is, honestly, more impressive than guilt. Start with what guilt would actually require, because we throw the word around too easily. To truly feel guilty, an animal needs more than to feel bad. It needs to hold a rule in its mind, understand that it personally broke that rule, and then turn a judgment back on itself. That is what scientists call a secondary emotion, a feeling about your own behavior, and it is a genuinely sophisticated thing for a brain to do. Dogs clearly have the simple emotions, fear, joy, excitement. That is not in question. The question is whether that hangdog face in the corner is really a confession of wrongdoing, or whether it is something else entirely wearing the same costume. In 2009, a researcher named Alexandra Horowitz at Barnard College designed an experiment to find out, and it is beautifully sneaky. She set it up so that owners sometimes knew the truth about whether their dog had eaten a forbidden treat, and sometimes were told the wrong thing. Then she watched when the guilty look actually appeared. If the look is really about guilt, it should show up when the dog has done something wrong. It did not. The thing that reliably produced the guilty look was not the dog's crime. It was the owner scolding the dog. And here is the detail that breaks the whole myth wide open. The dogs that looked the guiltiest of all were the ones who had been completely obedient, had not touched the treat, and got told off anyway. Innocent dogs, scolded for nothing, gave the most guilt-soaked performance in the room. The look was not coming from inside the dog. It was a reaction to you. A few years later, in 2012, a team at the Family Dog Project in Budapest, led by Julie Hecht, pushed on the same question and found the same crack. When dogs greeted their returning owners, you could not tell from their behavior whether they had just broken a rule or not. The guilty greeting and the innocent greeting looked the same. But they noticed one more thing, and it is the key that unlocks what is really going on. The dogs that put on the bigger guilty display actually got scolded less. The look was working. It was doing a job. And that job was not confession. It was defense. Because what you are actually looking at when you see the guilty look is one of the oldest tools in the canine playbook, appeasement. The lowered head, the flattened ears, the tucked tail, the eyes sliding away from yours, what trainers call whale eye. In a wolf pack, in a litter of puppies, these are the signals a dog throws up to say, "Please, I am not a threat, do not attack me, let us not fight." It is a de-escalation gesture, evolved over a very long time to cool down a bigger, angrier animal. And your dog is firing it at the biggest, most important animal in its world, you. It does not appear because the dog feels bad about the cushion. It appears because the dog has read the storm gathering on your face and is scrambling to calm you down before it breaks. And the cruel irony is that the more you scold a guilty look, the more guilty the look gets, because you are not teaching the dog about right and wrong. You are just confirming that you are angry, which makes it appease harder. The whole loop runs on your mood, in a circle, with the cushion almost forgotten. So here is where it should flip for you, because so far this sounds like a story about a dog that is faking it. It is not. It is a story about a dog that is reading you, and reading you with a skill that should genuinely amaze you. This is the part the guilty look is actually evidence of. In 2002, the researcher Brian Hare at Duke University ran a now-famous comparison. He hid food and then signaled where it was using a human gesture, a point, a glance. Dogs followed it easily. And then he tested chimpanzees, our closest relatives, and wolves, the dog's own ancestor. Both did worse than dogs. Your dog reads a human pointing finger better than a chimp does. Even young puppies with barely any human contact can do it, which suggests it is not just something they pick up, but something they now arrive already wired for. Somewhere in the long process of becoming our companions, dogs got tuned specifically to us. The exact reason is still debated, whether it is pure domestication or also a lifetime spent around people. But the raw fact stands, and it is remarkable. Of all the animals on the planet, the one that reads human social signals best is not the ape that shares our genes. It is the wolf that chose to come sit by our fire. And they do not just read our hands. They read our attention. In 2013, a study led by Julianne Kaminski showed dogs a piece of forbidden food, then changed one thing, the light. When the room was dark and the human could not see, dogs stole the food about 4 times more often than when the lights were on. They were not just obeying a rule, they were tracking in real time whether you were watching. And they read our feelings, too. In 2016, a team led by Natalia Albuquerque found that dogs can match a human emotional expression across senses, pairing the sound of an angry voice with an angry face, a happy voice with a happy face. They are not just hearing noise, they are building a read of your emotional state. And it runs deep enough to show up in the brain itself. Working with dogs trained to lie still and awake in a scanner, the researcher Attila Andics found that the dog brain has a region that responds to the emotional tone of a human voice, lighting up differently for warmth than for anger, much the way your own brain does. Your dog is not guessing at your mood from the outside. It is processing it with dedicated machinery, built for the job. So put it together, and the guilty look completely transforms. It is not a window into a guilty conscience. It is a window into an animal that is watching your face, your eyes, your posture, and your voice with a precision no other species on Earth aims at us, and adjusting itself instantly to manage your mood. The shredded cushion barely figures into it. What the dog is responding to is the thunder in your expression, and it is deploying a 30,000-year-old peace offering to make it stop. Now, to be fair, we cannot say for certain that a dog feels nothing at all like guilt. You cannot prove a negative, and researchers like Mark Bekoff rightly warn against slamming that door. But the famous guilty look is simply not the evidence. It never was, which leaves you with something better than the myth. The next time you come home to chaos and find your dog already cringing in the corner before you have said a single word, understand what you are really seeing. It did not sit there feeling sorry. It heard your key in the lock, saw the first flicker of anger across your face, and began, in that instant, to read you and to manage you, the way it has been bred and trained by its whole evolutionary history to do. That is not a guilty conscience. That is the most socially intelligent animal you will ever live with, doing the one thing it has gotten better at than any creature alive, watching you and loving you enough to be afraid of your storm.